Toto je o tom, čo sa zasekol.
All the more sad.
To neviem,
At 8 p.m. on November 24, 2009, John would enter the Nutty Putty Cave 55 miles outside of Salt Lake City, Utah, and would never find his way out to this very day. When John was a cave explorer as a young boy, he was much smaller than his now 6 foot, 200-pound frame. His lack of self-awareness of his size may have been a factor in his death. An hour into the cave, John started searching for the birth canal, a very tight passage in the cave. John shimmied head down first, what he believed to be that famous crevice. I don't know why that sounds so dirty, but it does. But John was actually in a different spot of the cave, an unexplored section. John slowly began realizing that he was stuck and had no way to turn around to get out of the hole he was in. But this is where John made his most grave mistake. Rescuers may have been able to get him out of where he was currently, but his next move would guarantee his final resting place. John exhaled all of his breath to suppress the size of his chest so he could go further into the crevice. When he breathed out again and his chest extended, he became permanently stuck headfirst into a crevice that was only 10 inches across and 18 inches high. John's brother Josh reached him and tried to pull John out of the hole by his legs. But, as you can see by this shocking diagram, there was no hope to pull him out. As Josh tried to pull him out, John only fell down the hole further and further. And as he slid, his arms became pinned underneath him so he could not even budge. He could not move a millimeter. John began praying that he would be saved for the sake of his wife and his kids. But his specific prayers would not be answered.
Ja bych sa pogrzal, si predstav ten, ty kokot. Si predstav, že bol normálne vydýchol všetko, aby mohli ísť kúsok ďalej, že sa mi otočí a normálne už sa potom nebolo, už bolo piči. Keď už sa potom nadýchol, tak už dovidenia. Čo ti jebe? To jeho vôbec napadlo, ty kokot.
Away. Josh left to go get help, and by 12:30 a.m., only 4.5 hours after entering the cave, help arrived.
ZOMREL,
the first rescuer, Susie Matola, introduced herself to John as his rescuer, but all she could see of him were his black running shoes sticking out of the hole. For 24 consecutive hours, more than 100 rescuers would try to get John out of that crevice. You see, one of the most difficult things about rescuing someone in a situation underground is rescuers are extremely limited by resources. You just can't get heavy equipment down into a cave the way you could if a tragedy occurred above ground. This is one reason why there were warnings placed outside in front of the Nutty Putty Cave. Spelunking when done in tight, narrow caves is extremely dangerous, and that story proves this. In fact, the Nutty Putty Cave was so dangerous that 2 Boy Scouts had been trapped in separate incidents in 2004. But due to their small...
Vymyslel to, Roci to vymyslel. Prečo na neho nedali niečo masné, aby sa šmíkalo?
Size and stature, they were able to be rescued with a complex set of pulleys. The cave had been closed for 5 years following those incidents before just reopening earlier in 2009, a grave mistake. Sadly for John, his size would not allow that same pulley system to save his life. You have to remember, since John was trapped upside down, the blood was rushing to his head and his heart was having to work overtime to pump blood throughout his upside down body. After one last try with the pulley system, one of the anchors became detached from the wall. This was the final signature on John's death certificate. The rescuers had no more answers for what to do. For the first time since the ordeal began, John realized he was not getting out of the cave and he stopped fighting. He rested and his voice grew faint, and it would never be heard again. There were discussions about breaking his legs to try to get him out, but that would not work as he would have definitely died of sepsis, according to rescuers. But I have to wonder why they didn't at least try it. But either way, John had managed to get himself stuck in basically an impossible position. His size and the shape of the hole had pretty much doomed him from the moment he decided to squeeze into it. John was pronounced dead officially right before midnight on November 25th, 2009, after 27 hours of a rescue effort. John's unborn baby would never know its father, and his wife and daughter would never see him again. There was no effort to try to retrieve John's body from the cave in fear that more people could die during the rescue effort. So John's body was sealed up permanently in the cave that week. While at its peak, 25,000 people per year visited the Nutty Putty Cave, no one would ever get that opportunity again as concrete was poured at its entrance, as it became John's tomb to this very day. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as...
Čo si blázen? Ja to fuj, ty nemám to na piču. Si predstav ty kokot, že si normálne ťa napadne, že kokot jasné, vidím takúto dierku pred sebou do piče, širokú jak teniska, že tam vlezem, tam bude proste niečo po piči, že áno, idem tam. Ideš tam a že kurva, nezmestím sa tam, že skúsim vydýchnuť všetký vzduch, aby som išiel hlbšie. Tak vydýchne, ide hlbšie. Čo ti jebe? Nie je zle. Fuj. Marcelers, nie každý tu je Englander, aby rozumel každé jedno slovíčko, vieš? Ale som rád, že sa zaujímaš. No, chat, počúvajte. Kto si vedie mafiu, tak zajtra pokračujeme v mafii, dobre? K večeru. Momentálne ideme zahrať nejaké múťaky s chlapcami. Dojde na Discord Mouse. Dlho som nepočul nejaký cigošský hlas. Vidunka tých 28 dátov, že áno. FIFA? Počkaj, podľa ja FIFU neviem, keď tak zajtra by sme zahrali FIFU po mafii a s Mastatorom, skúsim ho dohodnúť nejako. Počkaj, písal mi či nepísal? Mastator mi ani neodpísal, že to by som mal stihnúť. Napíšem mu, že, napíšem mu. Počkaj, je tu v čete, alebo nie tu? Si tu? Počkaj, možno nastýme sekundu. Si tu? Počúvaj, vraj nemôžeš ísť s nami R6, lebo si není nejaký level. Tak čo do piče? Zajtra FIFA? Kúp ovládač. Jediná diera, kde som sa zasekol na 27 hodín, bola u záujme mamky. Siebnutý. Ja nechávam, ak sa takou malou cicinou ty môžeš zaseknúť vôbec niekde. Ale čo som uknutý? Ale Seva, Mirečko a Rytmaus.
Čus.
Seva. To si kúkal, ak som zasekol ten blázen?
Si predstav, že to je jebli game moda kokot.
Že čo? Že čo?
Nie, lebo v CG je nový game mode a funguje to tak, že máš len deagle a jeden náboj. Musíš trafiť.